Greetings and Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Hassan Khan, and I will be talking about the quality function deployment, or known as the QFD. This is for an assignment of my course SVM. Moving on, so what is quality function deployment? What it really is. Quality function deployment is a structured approach to defining customer needs or requirements and translating them into specific plans to produce or to meet those needs. The voice of the customer is a term to describe the stated and unstated customer needs or requirements. This is captured in a variety of ways. These include direct discussion or interviews, focus groups, customer specifications, observation, field reports, etc. Professionals refer to QFD by many names. These include matrix product planning, decision matrices, and customer-driven engineering. Whatever you call it, QFD is a focused methodology for carefully listening to the voice of the customer and then effectively responding to those needs and expectations. Moving on, it's basically about capturing the voice of the customer. The process of capturing the voice of the customer is described in papers on product definition and steps for performing QFD. It is important to remember that there is no monolithic voice of customer. Customer voices are diverse, so there is a lot of diversity. Customers have different tastes, different opinions, so there isn't a monotonous voice but different and diverse voices. In consumer markets, there are a variety of different needs. So these diverse voices must be considered, reconciled, and balanced to develop a truly successful product. One technique to accomplish this is to use multiple columns for different priority ratings associated with each customer voice in the product planning matrix. Quality function deployment requires that the basic customer needs are identified. The customer needs are very important so that the voice of the customer is heard. Let's talk about the brief history of the quality function deployment. The QFD is a method developed in Japan in the beginning 1966 to help transform the voice of the customer into engineering characteristics for a product. The founder of the QFD was Yuji Akwa. He described the QFD as a method to transform qualitative user demands into quantitative parameters to deploy the functions forming quality and to deploy the methods for achieving the design quality into subsystems and component parts. This QFD was first, then it was deployed by several other companies like Toyota, etc. This QFD was first brought to the United States in the early 1980s, but however, it is not as popular as it was in Japan. Now moving to the QFD methodology flow. So basically, the basic quality function deployment methodology involves 4 phases. During each phase, one or more of the matrices are prepared to help plan and communicate the critical product and process planning and design information. The QFD method identifies and classifies the customer desires, identifies the importance of those desires, and identifies engineering characteristics which may be relevant to those desires, correlates the two, allows for verification of those correlations, and then assigns objectives and priorities for the system requirements. This methodology can be applied to various customer goods, FMCG goods, services, automobile industry, military, etc. These are the 4 phases of QFD. The first is product concept planning. This basically starts with customers and market research which leads to product plans, ideas, sketches, concept models, and marketing plans. The second one is a product development and specification. This would lead to development of certain prototype and tests of those products. The third one is marketing processes and production tools. They are designed based on the product and component specifications. Number 4 is the production of the product itself. It starts after the pilot have been resolved. As you can see this figure, this is the four-phase QFD approach. The first one is the product planning. As you can see, it involves define and prioritize the customer needs, analyzing competitive opportunities, planning a product to respond to the needs and opportunities, and to establish a critical and characteristic target value. Then further moving on is the assembly deployment part. It is basically there to identify critical parts and assemblies, flow down critical product characteristics, and finally translate into critical assembly characteristics and target values. The third phase is process planning. This determines critical processes and processes flow, develop production equipment requirements, and establish critical process parameters. Moving on to the fourth phase of process/quality control, it determines critical part and process characteristics, establish process control methods and parameters, and establish inspection test methods and parameters. Further moving on to the product planning using QFD. As you can see, this diagram is a house of quality. A house of quality is a diagram which helps in determining how a product is living up to the customer needs and requirements. It basically utilizes a planning matrix to relate what the customer actually wants and how the producer and the firm is going to produce and satisfy those wants. The first priority is the customer requirements, then is the customer requirements and benchmark and comparative analysis. Then it moves on to design characteristics, then relationship between customer requirements and design characteristics, then technical correlations and design score, technical benchmark, and competitor analysis, design targets. The house of quality provides requirements planning capability, a tool for graphic and integrated thinking, a means to communicate the thought process to new members of the QFD team, a means to inform management regarding inconsistencies between requirements, risks, and the needs of the customer. Moving on to this figure, this is an example of the house of quality from an automobile company. As you can see over here, at the top left corner are the customer attributes. These involved what the customer actually wants, like easy to close from outside, stays open on a hill, doesn't kick back, doesn't leak in the rain. Then the objective measures of the car, and we compare our car to the cars of the other company. Then there are engineering characteristics. You can see energy to close the door, check force on 10% slope. Then we have the relationships: strong positive, medium positive, medium negative, strong positive. Then we have the customer perceptions, which is from 1 to 5. Moving on. Now I will talk about the benefits of the quality function deployment. The benefits are quite plenty. Some of them are that it's customer driven. The focus is on the customer wants, not what the company thinks of the customers, but it's actually the voice of the customer that drives the development process. Secondly, it's the comparative analysis. Other products in the marketplace are examined and the company product is rated against the competition. Then there is the reduced development time. The likelihood of the design changes is reduced as the QFD process focuses on improvements to be made to satisfy key customer requirements. Careful attention to customer requirements reduces the risk that changes will be required late in the product life cycle. Time is not spent developing insignificant functions and features, so reduced time is a big advantage that the QFD offers. Then there is reduced development costs. The identification of requirement changes occurs early in the project life cycle. Minimizing changes follows production, reduces warranty costs and product support costs. And lastly, the documentation benefit. A knowledge base is built on as the QFD process is implemented, a historical record of the decision making process is developed. Now, at the end, I would like to tell you the conclusion. The quality function deployment is an extremely useful methodology to facilitate communication, planning, and decision making within a product development team. It is not a paperwork exercise or additional documentation that must be completed in order to proceed to the next development milestone. It not only brings the new product closer to the intended target, but reduces development cycle time and costs in the process. This was it. Thank you. Thank you for watching the video.